Awesome. Well, Amy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share your story with us. Super pumped just to kind of hear about your experiences, but also what you've been through even before we met. But to give our viewers some context on you and a little bit of backstory, I'd love to know, like, how long have you had diabetes? Do you use MDI or pump? Just some history on your experience with it so far.
Okay, thanks, Matt. It's great to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a while, so this is great. Let's see, I was diagnosed a little bit older. I was in my 20s when I was diagnosed, but I'd always had problems growing up with low blood sugars. So they thought that it would happen eventually, but of course I never thought it would. But it happened. And I was pregnant when it happened. But it wasn't gestational because it was pretty significant how it happened. And so hospitalized, whole deal. And, I did injections for forever. And after my second child, I decided that it was just crazy. So I decided to go on an insulin pump, it was a big game changer for me. So after that, CGM much later. I didn't want one because I didn't want anything else on my body.
Right.
But now I'm a true believer in it all. And so I've had it for Jack's 25, so 26, 27 years. And I've always learning. I didn't really learn a lot about it, really, until I met you. But I mean, of course, I figured things out as I went. But
Yeah.
And I had some nutritionists that were pretty good about. Well, it was more like, well, you can eat this. You just have it, because I was worried about, well, will I never be able to eat a carb again, a birthday cake,
Right.
Those things. But I really had to kind of figure it out all on my own. So my hemoglobin A1C was always pretty good, better once I got on a pump. But doesn't truly tell the full picture, which is what I learned through you. So I always thought I was doing okay, but I knew I never really felt great.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's a big distinction a lot of people have, where it's like, I'm doing pretty good. My A1C, it's good enough. And then you learn about time and range. You're like, gosh, darn it. I'm not doing as good as I thought I was. That was me, at least. I got the CGM and I was like, ooh, I'm going to 350 between meals and it comes back down. That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people that's very obsessed about, like trying to, checking my sugar all the time and all that, but I just had no idea. And I tend to be on the opposite end. I mean, I always dropped low, but then the rebounds were always the things that killed me.
Yeah. So it sounds like the low blood sugars was the main concern, like the years leading up to when we started working together. Is that right?
That's right. Right. But of course, then I always rebounded high. So, but hemoglobin A1C 6 typically, and so when I would go to the doctor, she would say, things are looking great. You're doing so good.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
Now, did they have you download like your glucometer or anything, or are they just saying the A1C?
Well, I changed doctors about, maybe 10 years ago. And so we started looking at that, but she still felt like she would tweak things a little bit, but we never talked about time and range. Mm-hmm. She would just look at it and tweak it and say, she never could help me about exercise. She never really knew. She had a PA that I went and talked to. He didn't really, he tried to explain it, but he wasn't a diabetic, so he didn't really get, so the exercise part was, of course, as you know, the important thing for me, because that's what I always like to do for mental and for physical health for my diabetes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that then. The exercise, was that always something that led into low blood sugars and then the rebound? Like, was that the source of the frustration?
Mostly, yes, mostly. I eat fairly healthy, but of course, then there's those days when you don't. And I didn't really know how to handle those before. So there was always those days too. I mean, there's a lot of things that goes on with diabetes that, it's anything you put in your mouth, right? But yeah, exercise was the biggest thing for me. It started the ups and downs, and it's hard once you're up to get down, and then
Yeah,
that was
certainly. So with the exercise being one of the factors, it sounds like even just like on a normal day, there would still be some roller coastering up and down. You're just like, I'm trying my best. I mean, what did it feel like as you were going through that? Was it like frustration because of the uncertainty, like you were trying but it wasn't working, or was it more like I tried, I'm done trying, like why can't the doctor help? What were you thinking and feeling?
I felt like there was something wrong with me. Why can't I make this work for me? I'm exercising, I'm eating right, but I just didn't have all the tools that that I now feel like I have. Now, am I using them every day? Sometimes I have a bad day, I'm not gonna lie, but
Me too.
but I have the tools now. It feels like I'm in control now, and I never felt totally in control before. I just didn't know how to handle those things, especially when you would get really high, and so now it's just, I've learned so much. I mean, that I've been able to, I don't go as high, and I know what to do if I see my arrow starting to go a little bit or going down just a little bit. I just have many more tools than I ever knew existed before.
I love that.
Yeah.
You got kind of the tool belt of options now. Like, okay, this is happening, so I can make this action to cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay.
The walks, if you're going high, just a quick walk, or just, it's raining, go up, walk up and down your stairs. Just do anything.
There you go.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, before you had the tool belt, the different options, were you trying anything else outside of just going to the doctor and waiting for them to help you? Were you like, I mean, you were eating healthy, you were exercising. Were those the main strategies?
Yeah. I mean, those were my two main strategies, I guess. I went on, I did the whole keto where I didn't eat any carbs. I've done a lot of different diets, trying to, no fruit, just the whole gamut of not eating things that I would like to eat, but didn't eat because I was trying to figure it out.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, like you wanted to have birthday cakes and like whatever food you wanted ultimately. Were you told initially that you couldn't have carbs or sweets or anything like that? Or is that just a belief that you read somewhere?
No, I was told that I really needed to limit my carbs, that I could have carbs, but that, I was going to have to give myself more insulin for the carbs, and I could have them, but it would be easier if I didn't. So, and I did at first I was pretty rebellious at first, I'm going to be honest. But, after a while, I figured, I was able to have carbs. It was all about counting carbs, and that was really hard at first for me. It took me a long time to learn how to count carbs. And sometimes, especially at restaurants, it's still, I'm glad I have Fitness Pal.
Yeah.
That's been huge for me, which I never had used really before. And that's really been helpful as far as when you're at a restaurant, it's a little tricky to try to figure it out. So, the fist is held, the whole trying to figure out how much am I really eating of these potatoes and that sort of thing. But overall, like back in the day, I felt like I was guessing a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So we got the exercise, the eating healthy, trying to count carbs and just doing your best. It wasn't quite getting the results you wanted. So, eventually you got on the phone with me. We had a great chat conversation. I'm curious, what made you take a chance on working with us, like with a stranger on the internet?
I know, right? Yeah. My husband was like, really? But I just listened in a lot to all your videos and different things. And I thought, I want to understand. I want to know what the secret is. And I thought long and hard. I watched a lot and listened a lot and read a lot of your, I got on Instagram, I started following you and then I joined so I could, look at your videos and things like not join, but join the Facebook group. And, and then I was just ready. I'm, not a child anymore. And I just want to have, we talked about this when I first met you. I want to be here for my grandchildren. I want to be here, so I was ready to take it to the next level.
I'm glad you did.
Me
You've
too.
been incredible in the program. Yeah. I know we had some injury setbacks, unfortunately, with the back and everything. But that aside, did you realize that there was like a point in the program where you're like, oh, this thing is actually working for me? Was it like a light bulb moment for you?
The light bulb moment for me, really, although I wanted that light bulb moment for the exercise, but I'm still working on that. But the light bulb moment for me was when I had a day, and I've had several now, not 100 yet, but high 90s, that I felt like those days when it's not going off all day long, your pump's not alarming you, you're not. And I'm like, okay, this is what I did, all the things I did. And this is what happens if I do these things, which is pre-bolus, which is count your carbs correctly, which is if you're exercising, all the things we talk about with that. I'm in the 90s time and range. If I don't do those things, I'm not. So it's just pretty, and I think, especially for people that are thinking about doing this, if they'll give themselves some grace when they start, because it's hard. It's hard is not the right word. It's just, it's new and you have to change your habits. But once you start realizing, and then it becomes natural if you do it after a while, it's not as much. I have no trouble. My husband always laughs about pre-bolusing because by the time I do Fitness Pal, 20 minutes later, he's like, "Are you eating?"
Oh, that's funny.
But that's what you got to do, and then you learn it more, and you don't have to do all that. But
right, I think what you just mentioned too is key. Where you're like, after you've been doing it, you built it into a habit. It's less cumbersome, like less thought has to go into it because you're just used to it. Right. Initially, it takes work, right? Like most good things in life.
It's true, right? Whatever you work hard at is usually the best thing in your life, really.
Yeah.
And you're not saying diabetes is the best thing in my life, but learning these tools is going to be better for me so that I can have a better life, I guess.
Certainly. Yeah. And you mentioned we're still on track to hit the 100%. We'll get there, but you're in 90s, which is incredible. What's like the before and after, the time in range, the A1C, any of those kind of metrics?
So my A1C hasn't changed all that much, to be
Okay.
honest. It dropped maybe a point or two, but the time in range was, I think when we started, it was around 73, and now it's high 80s. So that's pretty big. I wish it was in the 90s, but it will be.
It will. Yeah. So you're hitting 90s, but it's not your norm. You're not.
It's
your
not my
average.
norm yet. Yeah. It's not my
Okay.
norm.
Gotcha. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
steady climbing. We're working our way towards that 100, and on the way to 100 is going to be 90s. So.
Oh, for sure. Sure. And more days of not, time in range 90 in the 90s. But then I have one of those bad days where it just drops me down. So
Right.
I'm hoping I'm really close. I'm really close.
That's awesome. So you've got the higher time in range working towards that 90 average. How does it feel now that like things are cooperating more, blood sugars are more stable? I mean, is it like a confidence shift? Is it a peace of mind? What are you feeling?
It's a confidence. For me, it's a confidence shift that even if I have a bad day, which, it's frustrating, I know, like yesterday, because of the exercise, I know that today I will be in the 90s, because even though I had a bad day yesterday, it doesn't mean that it's every day. And I'm on track right now. I'm doing great. Just check, make sure it's still going good. Oh yeah, still good. So
Awesome.
yeah, so I feel like I'll be good today. I mean, yesterday was a bad day because I had a few surprise exercise really like 3 times yesterday. So
Oh, wow.
just kind of threw me off completely, but
Yep.
but today's a good day. It's a new day, and I'll stay in range today.
I think it's a powerful way of looking at diabetes too. Like there are going to be bad days. They happen to all of us where things just don't go according to plan in life too, but like specific to diabetes, where the following day, we don't have to accept yesterday's defeat as today's expected defeat. We can just start fresh and say, okay, you know what? Today we're going to do this. And the fact that you're able to turn it around that quickly, like the next day, it's pretty powerful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whereas before, I just didn't know how to make that next day better. Whereas
Right.
now I do, and pretty confident that I can. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's good. I still have a ways to go. I'm not perfect, but I feel so much better now. I mean, I literally feel better physically, mentally, so it's been a journey though. It was rough. As we've had some conversations throughout, and I struggled with not being able to do everything I wanted to do, but with the program, but it's all good. I mean, I'm on my way still, and I hope if I could tell anybody that was watching this that anything, I would be start now, don't wait.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a great point. Thinking about where you were, like it sounds like you're talking to yourself at that point, like start now, don't wait, right?
Yeah.
Like what advice would you give to another diabetic who was in your shoes like before you started the program with us?
Oh wow, I would say one, it's worth it. To the whole big scheme of your life, it's pennies on the dollar to do this, and really it's your health. So it's the most important thing. And I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can start at, in your 50s, or you could start in your 20s, which is what I wish all these kids had. I just wish there was a way. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out a way for young people to have something like this, earlier on, so that they could feel so good earlier, because you feel so much better when you stay time in range. So I would say just get started. Wherever you are, get started with it. It's worth it. You're not going to be perfect, but it's going to be you're going to feel so much better and feel in control of your life, because it's a big part of your life and you got to eat.
Right. I know, unfortunately, right. I feel like diabetes had its fingers in every aspect of our lives. And yeah, if you can improve time and range, you actually feel better in a lot of areas that aren't even directly connected to diabetes. Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, truly, there's so many things that I didn't even realize until recently that affect diabetes, like arthritis, like,
Yeah.
all these different things that I'm starting to experience a little bit. And I would just hope that I hope people can figure this out before they start, realizing that, oh, I'm having some side effects from this.
Right.
Even though my hemoglobin A1C was always pretty good, we now know.
Right. Yeah, definitely better to plan ahead. I mean, I wish I had taken better control the first couple of years where I just ignored it. So I think we all had
Yeah,
that phase.
yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that input. And I'd love to know, actually, if it's cool if I ask like one final question for you.
Sure.
What would be like a golden nugget or epiphany or aha moment that stuck out to you that you learned, whether it was like a mindset shift, like the reset you're doing today? Maybe it was the pre-bolus is super important. Like, what was something that stood out to you from the program?
The pre-bolus was super important to me. It was a game changer. I mean, I really was surprised. I really never pre-bolus. But more so, I feel like as far as the program goes, the group was really helpful. I learned a lot from them just listening. And, if you remember, I didn't want to, I was like, oh, I don't want to talk in front of a bunch of people.
Yep.
Yeah, but it really is very helpful. There were so many aha moments for me. The biggest one, I think, is mindset. You were very good at, well, can you think of it this way? Instead of looking, I would, woe with me. And you would be like, can you think of it this way? And that helps. That helps. Changing your mindset is a big part of it. And it's a daily thing. You have to stay focused and positive on a daily basis. So I think and just the book, everything in the book, all the tools, there were a lot of, just getting my basal, to get my basal right took forever, but was worth it. Yeah.
And the book, is that the secret program book that we sent you, or is it a different book?
It's your book, but I have it right here.
Oh man, let's see it. Oh, I love it.
And my shirt is in Alabama and I'm in Utah, but it's gonna wear my shirt, but it's in Alabama, sorry.
No worries. We'll just imagine you're wearing the shirt. Well, cool. I love those golden nuggets. Love that there were so many things that stood out to you. And as you heal, your injury, I'm sure that even more epiphanies, more aha moments are going to happen as you work your way through that reintroduction to exercise, right? And then just super excited about how it's going to go. Amy, first of all, these results, these outcomes that you're able to achieve, directly correlated to you and the effort you put in. I saw you showing up every week and really just kicking butt in the program. Even with the injury that happened halfway through, like, you still really put your all in, and it shows. I mean, average in the high 80s, hitting 90s. It's all because you put the work in. So I want to say I'm proud of you for that. And I'm really happy to see how far you've come, and super excited to see how much further you go with this.
Oh, thanks so much, Matt. I really appreciate, you're doing a great service to a lot of people. And I just would love to see more people find out about you and I don't know, keep going, get out there, do this, because a lot of people need it.
I
Really
appreciate
appreciate it. Thank you for all your help.
Yeah, absolutely, Amy. My pleasure. And for everybody watching, obviously, Amy's doing incredible things with her diabetes and coming a long way. I believe this is the same video that Amy saw initially, which brought her into our world, which I want to make sure everybody else knows about because it's kind of like hidden in the internet. But there's a video that I put out a training where I kind of go over an introduction into this program, and it's actually free for anybody who wants to watch. You can go check out that training at diabetesinaction.com. Check it out. If you like it, maybe we hop on the phone and have a chat like Amy and I did. And who knows? But yeah, thanks so much, Amy, for your time today, for sharing your story. And can't wait to hear about the crazy, amazing things that you accomplish in the near future.
Thanks, Matt.
You got it. Everybody else, thank you for watching and keep up the fight.